Welcome to AHDR The Chop. We are out on Zwift's Watopia Volcano Circuit counterclockwise for 6 laps. AHDR The Chop Racing, handicap racing out on Zwift. This is all about all categories having an ability to win. The D category kicks off much earlier than the rest, and then C category, B category, then the A category, all chasing each other. So handicap racing, pretty awesome to see. The C's have 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go to the start of their race. The B category 6:25 and the A category 9:23 to the start of their race. And the D's are already out on course. We'll get their feed up as soon as we possibly can. They're mixed in with one of our other feeds. We got 3 feeds of Zwift for you out there today. I do have alongside of me for the race today, Pat Shaw. Pat, a little bit of chatter before the race about who we think is going to win in the categories. We're looking at the C's. They had a chance last week, it looked like, to pull things off as well as the D category, but caught at the last moment. Do you think that they can throw down this week?
Yeah, well, they've got a big field. I mean, that's the biggest thing. You need a big group, don't you? And we've spoken about that in past weeks. Already seen some really good chat on the start line, but also D grade, 41 starters tonight as well. So that's the biggest D grade group for a while. They usually start with around 30, but it's a tough circuit. It's up and down this course, and it means that really need to keep an eye on the power output so that the group can really maintain its fastest speed across the whole circuit. But it's great to see so many starters again tonight. Maybe a bit of an influence from not having East Ram Send Series race on tonight. That drew to a close last week in Sydney at the live event. It was brilliant, but fantastic to see great numbers in all 4 of the packs tonight. So it should be a fair race. Interesting to see whether B grade can get us to win for this season.
Yeah, and that's one of the talking points a lot of times is the B grade. On any course where they might have an opportunity to take a win here, I think it might be this course specifically because of what you said in the up and down nature of it. They have the head start. They are going to be getting 3 minutes today. That is a good chunk of time. They do have 25 riders currently in there. The A category, only 5 riders I'm seeing in there right now. But I was looking at those with power right beforehand, and there's some heavy hitters though in the A category. They're going to have to put in the effort, but B category, I think they're going to push up and over 40, maybe 50 riders still before the finish or before they do get off the start line here. And I think because of the nature of the course we were speaking about a little bit, it might not favor. I mean, they've got the hardest day, you were saying, a lot of times in these handicap races, but at least it may be a situation where it could, it's almost impossible, is what I'm trying to say in some of the other races.
Yeah, well, this course probably is one of the better courses suited to them. But yeah, we do say it week in and week out. B grade have the toughest job, but sometimes I feel like B grade's the group that sort of progresses the most. And by progresses, I mean you get a lot of riders that come out of B grade towards the end of the winter, and they've almost verged into A grade. And so that's probably a really good thing personally for them as riders. A lot of them will then go into the criterium season over summer and be really successful in that through their age categories or also through graded racing. So there's a lot of positives that come out of doing the Chop series. And I believe that this series is really a good one for people to use in their training as well. Evidenced by the fact that I think tonight I've got 3 or 4 of my own athletes taking part.
There we go, and we're going to have to keep an eye on the A category specifically for that, as I was seeing some of the SAP tags in there in game, but the C category is taking off. We are seeing a ride on right there from no other than, I believe that is Carly Taylor. Good to see her jumping in and watching alongside as the riders do take off. I did see now on the right-hand side, interesting to see some of these Zwift Academy little bands there on the right hand side. So already the little icon showing up there. If you guys haven't checked it out yet, Zwift Academy registration has opened up. We are seeing Simpson, it looks like, as well as Talbot. Now we're going back to Nathan's avatar. We need to get off of that. But Esra here as well with the Zwift Academy ladies icon there. That is the purple icon that you are seeing in game there on these riders. So if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to head on over to Zwift Academy on Zwift's website, and you can sign up right away. It's going to be the largest online training community you can get involved with, as well as some pro contracts, of course, again, being given away. at the end of the season to one man and one woman at the end of the academy. So now, as we do see here, things breaking up a little bit. Again, awesome job by Simpson here to keep everything together. But this is the hardest section to kind of keep things together a lot of times. Again, fast starts in Zwift are a thing, Pat.
Fast starts is absolutely imperative in Swift, isn't it? You've got to come out of the blocks and put everyone to the sword straight away. But ideally, in the Chop series, you don't want to get out of the blocks really fast. You just want to do a sustain. It's basically a 45-minute time trial. And I think sometimes when we watch the pro cyclists, I mean, the Tour de France on at the moment is a perfect example. If we go back and have a look at the individual and also the team's time trials, yes, they average 50 kilometers plus per hour, but certainly that first kilometer, it wouldn't even be much over 30 kilometers an hour because they just come out slow, steady, build into their ride, and then sustain it. If they come out of the blocks real hard, yes, hard bikes immediately. And for a lot of people, in particular those that aren't professionals and riding every single day, it's very difficult to draw your heart rate back down. And therefore, you won't compete at your best level throughout the entire event. So keep that in mind, particularly your Ds and C grades, not to hit out of the blocks, as we say in Australia, but not to start the race at the highest possible power. And in fact, what you want to do is finish the race at the highest possible power.
Yeah, just like a time trial or team time trial situation, it's not necessarily about the sprint or the quick, being the quickest over one specific section. A lot of times it's like this building, 1 hour FTP effort. I mean, or even a 20-minute FTP effort. Sometimes you have that. The first 5 minutes shouldn't feel impossible, right? The first 10 minutes shouldn't feel impossible. It's at the end of the race it needs to start building toward that impossibility. Many a times in climbing situations, I've had that exact feeling. Now in with the B category, they're just taking off from the blocks here as we do see Jay Ray here. Now as you can see out of the US of A, early morning here for Jay Ray as they do take off from the blocks. We're giving a little shout out this week, it seems like, to the B category, see what they can pull off here as they have not won a single race. Yeah, now, wait a second. Is it only A's and D's, Pat? If we look back and we think back to the results, it's only A and D category.
5 weeks, 3 A's, 2 D's. It's been very boring for some of the others. But I tell you, but C grade was very close. One of the weeks, where 2 weeks ago in Richmond, C grade were infiltrating the pack, but D grade just survived. They just did what it takes, and that's what you got to do in handicap racing. If you're in the lead, you've got that ability to take a little bit longer, wait until that last moment until you know, right, I've got to go 100% from now to the line to win tonight. Until that point, you have got that space up your sleeve, and that's why it's always good to be in front. Doesn't matter by how far, but it's always good to be in front.
Yeah, definitely, and holding on to the best speed that they possibly can through all these sections, working together well. We'll see if the B category can make it happen. We are watching chat over on the Facebook post. We do see Mindy May Abbott as well as Pete Donahue. Jason Evans, we do see that. Less banter, more Watts, Keith Leonard. So it looks like Keith might be in there chatting up a little bit. And they're saying, come on now, Keith, quit chatting away and put some more Watts down if you want to hold on and win this race. So good to see all you guys chatting away. We'll see if we can bring in some of your comments before the race is over with our social media integration. But always appreciate all of the chatter out there. The A category going to take off in 1 minute and 13 seconds. We see how far away this B category can get as they'll be chased down. If you're just tuning in, this is Chop Racing out on Zwift, and I try and do it justice, but Pat always has the best explanation, it seems like, of what exactly Chop Racing is and where it came from. So we want to give the viewers that are not used to this an idea of exactly what's happening in front of them here, Pat.
Well, basically and essentially, the handicap racing or chop racing is one which gives everyone an equal opportunity to win. So there's 4 groups in the chop series, A, B, C, and D grade. They're graded as per their FTP watts per kilo rating. And you can see that when you sign into the companion app to enter races as well. And then from there, it's about working together as a group to get to the finish. And often in the history of chop racing or handicaps, riders will collude with one another to double their chances in taking out the win. I'm not suggesting that happens so much on Zwift, but it probably does just a little.
Yeah, most likely. I think that there is definitely some maybe what do we call it, collusion that's going on out on
Yep.
Zwift to try and take the wins, and it's a little bit of a part of racing for sure. But now we have it, and it's a part of the event to try and take down the wins out there. So we're jumping into the A category, and interesting to see. For some reason, I am not seeing. This is our A category, so we'll have to wait and see what's going on with this. But here's the current situation. And I saw 5 riders that jumped in there. We'll see if perhaps they're all on an individual time trial. If there are any A's watching, let me know if you have the same thing going on here. I'd love to know. As I do not have an A feed, it looks like at this moment. We'll have to see, maybe have a contact quick with ZHQ and see what might have happened with the A category. But anybody out there that is sitting in the A's, Jeffrey Creel, I think is hanging out in chat. There were a few others that might have been in there. Let us know in the comments if you have something different. I can maybe even log back in and follow a rider or join one of the riders that I am friends with. I do believe that Mr. Kim Little is out there, is for according to Zwift Power. So we'll see if I can go ahead and jump in another way to grab the gameplay there. But now we are back in with the C category here with Ronald from the AHDR. They're looking solid here so far. We'll have to take a look forward here and see where things are at for that D category. But 84 riders in this C category, we've talked about them week after week so far, and it really does seem like they've got this down. They are a well-oiled machine when it comes to sticking together.
No, well, Crystal Simpson, I'm going to put it out there. She is the absolute pinnacle when it comes to lead rider. She just is getting the messages through. She's clear and direct. And I think in some ways, probably her group really enjoys having her guide them. They've seen that they've been very close to success throughout the series already. And I met her at the Sydney live event, and I definitely told her so that her ride leading skills are very, very important to C Grade's ability to get to the line first. And if we have a look at finishing results in the past weeks too, C Grade seems to hold on to the most riders as a whole group towards the finish, where a lot of the other categories, they break up quite considerably in the final lap. But Chris does a fantastic job to keep them all together.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to the camaraderie, I think, of each one of the categories, too. We've definitely seen that amongst the groups, this idea of the riders getting to know one another, showing up week after week. I think that's the community aspect of Chop Racing as well, showing up with riders that you do know and able to week after week push each other. As you can see, getting familiar with the ride leader there too. I think that definitely lends to riders wanting to work together, wanting to really push each other out on course. We do see the A category a little ways up, so this other feed that we do have here of the C category, I was waiting to see if we were going to catch them on here. And the A is going to have their work cut out for them as the C's are chasing them down on their second lap as the A's just enter into it. So that'll make things interesting with the C's having the A's just ahead of them, able to maybe like, hey, there's another little bit to chomp there. There's another carrot to chase ahead of you that is the A category, something they might not be used to seeing.
Yeah, and we've spoken about it before because on some courses, certainly A grade, I think there was a course maybe in New York where A grade had to actually lap 2 of the grades, C and D grade. And so we were talking about how they were getting caught on the first time, but they still had to catch them another time around. And sometimes that's probably a really easy way to determine how big a gap it is. There's obviously Zwift Power, and you can use that as a guide. And on some weeks, we've had analytics, so we've been able to show time gaps, which has been interesting as well. But there's no better way than knowing, okay, we've got 3.5 kilometers of lead, and we've got this far to go, and you can sort of start to work it out in a tactical way. I mean, that's exactly how the pros win bike races from breakaways, and certainly there's no harm in using those skills in Zwift as well.
Yeah, we will have our time gaps up in just a moment here. Just got to make sure that they are running correctly here. But yeah, a very great new feature that we do have with some of our new broadcast tools, which is pretty awesome work done here by Zwift on that. We'll get those up in just a second here. But C category here, chasing down those A's at the moment, which is not what they're used to. So good to see there. In the B category, though, we're going to keep eyes on that as well. I do have a little bit of the A category here in just a moment here. But already, the Bs, it looks like, heading into their 5.5 kilometers in 7:22. and I believe only a half a lap or so ahead of those A's as they're looking to chase them down. So again, they're going to have to work it out for them, but they have 50 riders in and amongst the group here for this B category. I think the A category with a little bit less on the numbers there. I'm going to take a look at the live results over at zwippower.com, but according to zwippower.com, we're looking at, I believe, about 30 riders or so about 20 riders less. Some of the notables, though, there are out there in the A category for some of the firepower. We'll be looking at Nick Lacondro is out there for SAP. I think you're going to maybe know that rider, as well as Jesse Norton, also for SAP we were talking about prior to the race here. Kim Little, obviously former UK national champion, is out there hammering away. Peter Szynski for Team Poland. He's been a part of some of the live events here. Third wheel for KRT, always up there. Innovation has been showing up with Keith Leonard, who's helping to lead things out for the A category. So, I wouldn't count A category out, that's for sure. Every week they're definitely on there for a win and some serious firepower out there today.
Yeah, and you mentioned at the top there, Nick Lacandro and Jesse Norton, both Ballarat guys. So it's great to see them in A grade, and be unfair not to shout out also to the Ballarat riders in the other groups because, in fairness, I'm very, very lenient towards them. We got close one week. Bob Morley was fifth. So hopefully tonight maybe some of the local crew can take it out. We've really got a good group of riders in Ballarat that use Zwift on a regular basis. And so it'll be interesting to see how those two guys go in A grade tonight, but certainly there's representation in all four grades. It's going to be very interesting. I've liked the look of D grade so far. I mean, they've covered 11 kilometres in 17 minutes, which is actually really good pace. And that's going to be very interesting to see how that measures up against A grade. I know we're looking at B grade on the screen now, considerably quicker, obviously. We expect that. Watching Lehman at the moment from DC Racing, 7 kilometres covered in just 9.5 minutes. So evidently we've been on the faster part of the course in this first period of the race. And certainly as they start to go into the Volcano, each time it gets more difficult. And I don't know if you've found it, Nathan, as in mountain biking, certainly you do a lot of repetition laps. It's always difficult, isn't it, as you'd start repeating a certain part of a circuit multiple times. If you're really, really fit, it's a good thing. But if you're a little bit off, it really can bring you undone quite quickly, can't it?
Oh yeah, definitely, and especially if you put in, the efforts each and every lap. I mean, if you don't have this over under, and you're more of a consistent rider, you're more of a just go and set an FTP. But this kind of a course, it is going to be about that over under. It is going to be about that 2-tier climb each lap, and it's going to be a serious kick over the top of it, especially if people are maybe not trying to keep consistency in there and are just trying to climb it as fast as they possibly can. The A grade and the B grade, they're going to be taking full advantage of that section of the course. Now, we are looking here at the D category right now. We're looking at Stargate SG1. That's some old school. I'm liking the name in here. SG1, we're talking about some pretty old school TV programming here for those of you guys who might not be fans. I mean, I think I don't even know how many seasons of Stargate SG1, but I'm loving the name there coming out of Belgium. We're seeing Snowdown here as well as Donnie. It looks like Donahue's jumping in here. W. Chow there from HDR Ladies. It looks like Elvin Dyke here is there as well. So D category getting on well as they do get passed for the first time by the B category. B category still one lap down. The A category still needs to chase down these Ds again. So a lot of space here for this D category to be working with. As you did say, this B category and A category still need to lap them twice in order to take
Correct.
the win out here today. So there's a lot of room to work with here as they have completed, it looks like 7.9 miles so far on the day. 30 kilometers in total, so I believe we're looking at about, I want to say 16 or so miles. Nathan's math and the conversion's not that great. As we on one of our feeds, apologies again, you guys, is on one of our feeds, I do log in sometimes to my account for the feed, and so I'm logged in here, and that's why we have the some of the new school, American silliness up at the top here. But T. Len here from the D category coming out of Switzerland for a early morning ride now, as you can see, as the D category is hammering around pretty well. 147 beats per minute, so it does look like not too hard for some of the riders toward the front end here. 170, though, for Rook as D. Brown hangs on to that wheel. So that's another thing with these categories, you can jump in and get a solid workout. And some, it seems like, show up for maybe just the stroll.
Well, it's not a stroll at any time for anyone, I don't think. But what I'm seeing here is, I think that we've got a couple of D grades that have tried to carry on with this B grade group, and they started to drop off just now. They're actually, in fact, there is a rider that has jumped in with that B grade group from D grade. So interesting to see whether they can carry that all the way, because that's a significant advantage, particularly on tonight's course. Having B grade come past and jump in, well, it's a sneaky little move, because in the draft position, potentially you're not actually going outside of your rating, but certainly going to be hard for that rider, pushing at least a little bit over their FTP to stay with B grade at the moment. But certainly D grade staying really well together. That's good to see. And B grade really forcing ahead now. They need to continue to really push the boundary, because otherwise A grade will catch them. And we've seen in other weeks that when A grade does catch, not a very large percentage of B grade does hang on. Although we have seen a couple of B grades really push A grade to the line in the sprint finishes on the weeks that they have won. It's not in the best interest of the major capacity of B grade to be caught by A grade. So they need to keep pushing on. They're doing a great job so far. We continue to watch Lehman from DC Racing, but the group is large, and that's a really good thing. A fat group at this period of the race really bodes well for that final sort of lap to have some firepower to hold off A grade if they have the opportunity tonight.
We do see the each of the categories live data on the gaps here on the left-hand side right now. We are watching the B category currently. Let's go ahead and take a quick look over at the D category, though, as that's going to give us an idea of these gaps as well here, as we are looking at the D category. At the top, you do see they've completed 14.7 kilometers. It's a 30-kilometer total race here for all the categories here. So they're about halfway done with still a 3:57 time gap to the C category. And that is live data. It's actually going out at this point to the C category. So D category with a very solid gap here at this point. The B category at 5:54. The A category chasing them down, but it looks like at about an 8:53. So I mean, these are interesting. I'm going to have to double check these time gaps here, but if these are correct here, the D category has a serious chance to win this race here today.
Yeah, well, I think I'm not sure whether the metric there runs off the leading D grade rider, and certainly there is a D grade rider that jumped in the pack grade, so that could be skewing the data ever so slightly. But regardless of whether that data is skewed a little bit or not, this D grade group is the biggest group that they've had on any of the weeks, and that's already an advantage in itself. They're working well, and Brooks has them really well sorted, with the lead rider messages coming through as well, because I've been stuck on with the D graders since the starting house, Nathan. They're really good. Rook's been doing a fair bit of work at the front. We're on Rook right now, but also Morley. And it was actually Morley that snuck away in that B grade group ahead. And I'm just going to sort of click ahead and see whether I can find him still stick in there. He is. In fact, he is still in there. Bob Morley at 2.9 watts per kilo after 16.4 kilometers. He's in that B grade group, and he's literally 4 kilometers ahead of them at this point.
Yeah, I have a feeling at 2.8 watts per kilogram, he may start to break category limits. So I have a feeling he's going to be maybe pulled from result if he's able to hang on with the B or C or A categories. The actual time gaps then minus 48 seconds from that 4 minutes, but still it's 4 minutes, right? So it's at about 4:24 right now for the live time gap we are seeing on the left-hand side. Then we're going to go ahead and subtract that 44 seconds he has on the live results there in Zwift Power, and you're looking at more of a 3:30, but still at 3:30, that's a good gap still. Halfway done, they haven't cut the time gap in half yet, right? That they start at 5 minutes ahead, it's not even close to halfway. They have to be at 250 or so. So we definitely have a chance here for the D category. Amongst the D category, the sprinters, that's what we're going to be looking at for a 15-second best amongst them. We're seeing a 9.8 watts per kilogram there from Tammy Cook, actually, amongst the women. 9.4 there from Wendy Chow. Be watching out for her. Looking through for a few others. Another one I can see in here at about 7.3 watts per kilogram, Chris Katina. These are all 15-second bests there. And they've got some pretty solid firepower amongst the women, actually, in the D category. It'd be cool to see a woman rider take down the win here because it is a little bit of an uphill, and I think the watts per kilogram, rather than pure raw wattage, might matter a little bit more in an uphill grind sprint.
It certainly will, and definitely coming off the wheel at the right time is the key in this finish tonight. And those that master it will definitely be successful. Those that use their aero power up at the right time. It's not often we see an attack go clear unless A grade sort of catches the front of the race. So certainly an aero power up is key to victory. So if you pick up an aero power up during the event at any time, I'd urge you to hold on to that and probably just keep it to yourself. Often we talk about using your power-ups to help your group. Yeah, we'll use the minor ones, but I'd be secretly keeping the aero power-up to myself.
Holding on to those zero power ups now, unless you're having trouble catching the group that's ahead. We don't want to. You definitely need to work to use those up if you need to catch the group ahead. But this D category here, if they hold on to this kind of a gap, they don't have to worry about it too much. I mean, the A's are only just coming up on them here, as you can see. Jay Vine from Nero Bianchi's here, Devlin as well, Coles. They've got a full lap now. They have 4 laps though still. 4 laps to make this happen. So I have a feeling perhaps the ZwiftPower.com here, I'm looking, it says 30 kilometers in total for 6 laps, but I have a feeling they may be doing just a little bit more than that with still 4 laps to go. We'll have to double check at the end of the race how many kilometers they do finish here on the day. They're 14.5 in over on the B category, but the A's here now just about to make the catch here to SG1. So Stargate needs to transfer himself across the universe to get away from these A categories. Not sure that's going to be happening. They're going to hit the right chevrons. Not exactly. I think the not going to be happening here for this lap. Maybe for the next lap, not and be caught out here. But the B category now, let's go ahead and check in with them as the A's do go past for the first time past that past that D category, but the B category passed them quite a while ago. This goes to show how much of a gap that they have on the day here. And for the time gaps that we're seeing there on the left-hand side, the B category, they're edging in on the C's a little bit here with about under a 3-minute gap. I'm not sure any of the categories are going to catch anybody out there today. It might just be solo racing all the way to the end, and D's just walk away with this one unless the riders really start getting on the pace here toward the front end of these groups. I think it does look like that A category is hauling. I'm not sure the same kind of energy is in the legs or in the pack for the rest of the groups though at this point. The A category was absolutely flying as they came past those D's.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see. A-grade certainly is absolutely motoring along, but with only 35 riders in their group, it's going to be difficult too. They don't really have much weight to shred tonight. And back in D-grade, we continue to see really good turns on the front. So it is very interesting. You could be right. We might have a one-off. Jared King on the front at the moment for B-grade. He's really pushing the power as well. But all the groups seem to be working fairly much above their normal effort. So that's the one thing in handicap racing. It's difficult as the handicapper, those who set those time gaps, if every week everyone's getting stronger. I mean, the riders do have to stay within their power watts per kilos, but at the same time, if they're becoming more efficient and they're working better as a group, they're going faster, the job of the handicapper just becomes more and more complex and more difficult every week.
Yeah, it does. And the riders here, as you can see, a lot of times, if there is any infighting at all within the group here, or there's anybody waiting up, we have spoken about this sometimes in this B category, chatted a little bit about, well, we're going to get caught anyways. Are we going to really put the work in at the front? I don't want to call out necessarily, but this category is supposed to be up against 4 watts per kilogram, right? That's kind of like where they need to rest as far as if they're going to catch the categories up ahead. And the average watts per kilogram amongst the B category at this point, 3.6, 3.4, 3.9. Looks like I'm going to give a shout out to JLO there coming out of South Africa. Definitely putting in a solid amount of work. Troy S. Thomas, they're right up against 4.0 watts per kilogram as well. We're looking at about 3.8 here coming from Teeman Clark, as well as 4.0 there coming from, it looks like, now just dropping just below there from Lee Jones coming out of Australia there. So some of the riders there, those are the riders doing the brunt of the work in this A category. But A category, again, It is between 3.2 and 4.0 watts per kilogram. That is the amount of kilos that you weigh divided by your amount of watts you can hold for 1 hour straight, your functional threshold power. And so a lot of these riders, if they're going to be putting the work in, it's going to be over-unders on the front. And my expectation, if I were in here and I were a rider that could do between 3.5 and 4.0, is that I was putting about 4 to 4.5 on the front if I was actually making the chase. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I mean, that's about what it should be if you are in that category. Is you're going over threshold while you're on the front and then resting while you sit in.
Yeah, and you've put it perfectly. I mean, I can't put it any better. The over-unders, and if you want to be really good at handicap racing, that is the training you need to do. But essentially, I think it's also a good training technique to use anyways. Always found that the over-unders worked really, really well for me preparing for events. But also, for some reason, there's not the carryover fatigue from using them as a training tool either. So you can seemingly train harder more often. And that's a key to becoming more fit as well and stronger. So you're 100% correct. You should be just pushing a little bit above your threshold on the front, then going and tucking in the wheel, dropping slightly below, using that time to recover so you can repeat this short but high intensity effort again on the front next time coming through. In real life terms, turns would vary between 50 to 150 meters each on the front. So a handful of seconds and then move across and allow the next rider to take their turn at the front whilst you re-enter the drafting area. And certainly there are those riders that do it better than others. But in Zwift, it's pretty simple, really. You're either on the front or get in the draft. There's no point sitting side by side and doing the half wheel Harry move on your teammates or tonight in your group. There is nothing worse than you putting in an effort on the front, and for some reason, someone's just got to sit half a tire in front.
Yeah, no reason at all for that, and definitely just need to take the pulls, sit in, get the rest that you need, and work as a team. That's what it's really all about here in the chop racing. So looking at the time gaps down to 2:46 that we're seeing here. Interesting to see here now the gap going out just a little bit to well, actually it's come down quite a bit here. It was all the way over 4 minutes. So the C category, let's go ahead and jump right back in with them. We are looking at D alts here from the D category, as it looks like, though, C category mixed in with a little bit. I think there's a few of the riders perhaps that have jumped or dropped off, in the D category perhaps have caught, or has the C category actually caught? There's a few mixed in with the Ds. Perhaps this is some of the Ds that have fallen back off the pace here. We have to figure out exactly what's happening here out on course here for this D categories. We are seeing a bunch of these C category riders mixed in amongst them here. So it does look like this may be more of the official category here, as I believe the C's maybe with another lap to go, as we're seeing like almost 2 mile difference here between some of these. So I think these are some of the C category riders that actually dropped off from the main pack, because they only have about 11 miles in so far here. So we'll try and keep eyes on that and let you guys know what's going on there. But as I look forward here, this looks like to be the C category proper here. Back in with the A's, though, as you can see, some serious kicks going on here in this A category. Hulk Smash hammering away here toward the front. Randall now we're seeing being caught there almost by the group there. It's going to be Vine here from Nero Bianchi now, as well as Devlin. Johnson from Team AHDR is in there. Coles as well as Cutler. Gibson's in there. I did see him in the broadcast. Shout out to Gibson as he was chatting away. Leonard's there as well. Pushing. This is a serious attack. It looks like they're almost attacking each other as they drop off Chuzinski. Kim Little is 2 seconds off the back. He's got to close this down. That's not a rider you usually see fall off, as he's one of these that's participated in so many live events and has won many races here. So Little's going to have to put in a little work. I think he's trusting the fact that Chuzinski is going to close this down from Team Poland here. So I think Kim Little will be just fine as he sits in, plays it smart, and just waits to get back in there and put some work in for the A's.
Well, it is a very strong group there. And I mean, we've seen a lot of Jay Vine in the SRAM Senate series. He was really close up the front. He's been really good in the last few weeks as well for A grade. But they are absolutely hauling at the moment. They are flying out there for A grade, but they've got a lot of work to do. We find ourselves saying this, I feel like almost every week. They've got a lot of work to do. And it comes down to the pointy end of the game, and they really do forge ahead and take over. But D grade sticking together at the front, A grade working hard at the back. Well, everyone's really doing well. No one's really caught anyone just yet, and I think that's a really positive thing for B grade, if anything. That A grade hasn't caught them yet, and this is the longest probably in any week that B grade has stayed away from A grade. So that's a good sign for them tonight.
Yeah, and it does look like A grade at this point though the gaps have come down pretty significantly. I wouldn't count them out at this point. You never cut the count the A grade out. It seems like the gaps, the live gaps as we were seeing here just a moment ago, right down to 4 minutes, and they've got the B category within sights. And I think at this point, with this climb, we're seeing Coles kicking at 7.3 watts per kilogram. Johnson there from Team AHDR. This is going to be the final push, I think, to catch that B category. Once they all get together, then this train is really going to start hauling as they get those extra bodies in there, because the reality is A grade with only about, it looks like 35 riders, they're going to gain an extra 50 riders or so amongst them, and there's just the reality of a peloton that's got that many matches to burn is just going to be traveling that much faster. It's really going to stoke the coals here and get this fire burning to chase down those C's and D's categories.
Yeah, and the other factor is that as soon as A believes they have no chance of catching up, they will just absolutely go 100% all out. When they start doing peels at 600 watts, that really does dig into the lead of some of the D graders and also the C graders in particular. But they're sticking together out in front. Your mate Stargate still doing a great job. We're watching Brendan Trekkie Johnson at the moment. Brendan Trekkie Johnson, he's really driving. This is a very small amount of the group that started in A grade, so it shows you just how hard they have gone tonight. But certainly this is a worthwhile workout for anyone looking for a really big hit out as we head into some of the bigger races in Australia. This is a really good series to get involved with. So if you are watching the stream, maybe tuning in to watch someone else that you follow, this is certainly worthwhile. I also saw Marcus Curley out there tonight for A grade. Got to give him a shout out. He rides internationally, particularly in Asia, more so than anything, and he's a very strong rider. But in this front group for the A graders, they are absolutely flying. Tim Cutler, he's always very strong, and we've seen what his heart rate can do as well. He loves to push that boundary. And Hulk Smash, he loves it. He's in there again tonight as well for A grade. But A grade's what they've got about 10 bodies left, not a lot.
Now we are seeing, we did get, it looks like some of our social media integration going on here. So if you do want to comment, we were able to get it up and running. And so Stephen Chan giving us some of his predictions here, saying A and B grades together as expected. You can see the time gap still there on the left-hand side. Let us know what you think is going to happen out there today. We also got another question coming here from Wendy May Abbott. They're not going to let you off the hook here, Pat, as Wendy's giving us, Pat, how's the training going? I have a feeling, I almost forgot about it here. So, yeah, definitely going to need to keep our eyes on the training, both for Nathan and Pat. I did just record a Zwipcast right before this, and there was a little chatter there about what kind of shape we're getting into, as well as our predictions for the Tour de France, but as some of our fun chatter. But how's the training going, Pat? We've got the comments here coming through over on social media.
Yeah, look, the bike's on the trainer, that's a start. And I'm up to 2 basketball training sessions a week with my son. So there's some progression there, but certainly I've got to do a lot more. The motivation's there, though, so don't worry. I'm well on track. I'm just getting the mindset correct before really nutting it out what the plan's going to be to get fit. I think 8 weeks, I bought myself a bit of extra time there. I think if I've got 6 weeks of good, solid riding, I'll be right. And then if not, I'll do the old cram technique and just jam as much in as I can and then try and recover for this race, which we haven't determined when it's going to be. But I've never been so nervous about an event in all my time.
Well, we are looking at the A category, and they're racing away. The B category was just caught by those A categories, so they've gone flying by at this point. The A category, they are not holding up one bit today, and it's interesting to see the second they came on to this B category, they went straight to the front, driving the pace out here and we can see Matthew Locker is saying, come on, guys, and click on some B's and C, guys. We're on it, Matthew Locker. We're trying to do our best here with the feeds, a little bit all over the place, but we're going to jumping in with the C's here. I was just heading on over there, but I appreciate the feedback coming on in there. But 7 weeks to go. Wendy May Abbott's letting us know here. So, Pat, she's keeping you on the coaching here. She's making sure you're not you're sticking to the words. I'm loving it here. But in the C category, there is only, from what I can see here, the A's still with about 1 minute difference to the front of this C category. But we've got a few stragglers on here. Woohoo, game on C. So we do see that this C category is doing a pretty good job still of staying away here. It's a little bit broken up. So as we did see, Kay Simpson here is always doing such a great job with this category here, but it's been a difficult race for them for sticking together. We do see the top 24 or 25 here still together here and making it work, but the reality is that a lot of these riders unable to hang on because of this 2-tier each lap now, and with only a little ways to go here. I do believe we did see maybe 2 laps to go. I have to double check that real quickly here as the A's do come through from their lap here, but not a lot of landscape left to work with here, but the C category with that 144 up to the D's, the D category, they might just have too much time on their hands. Let's just double check the zwippower.com results to make sure that isn't from Morley. And Morley with only 11 seconds, actually. So he dropped off from that front group. So it is going to be about 1 minute between the D's and the C's at this point, and 1 minute between the A's and the C's, with 1 minute on, at this point, and a total of, it looks like, 25K in, about 5K to go. Is it going to happen here? There's enough time here to hold off for the D's, but I think it's going to come right to, I think if you do the math right there, that's right to the line there, Pat.
Yeah, it's going to be in the final couple of 100 meters, and that's where, unfortunately, in this circumstance, it does favour A grade still, because they don't really have a cap on the power output that they can reach, so they can go as hard as they want effectively. But it's going to be very interesting to see this come down the line. I think that's all going to do with how long C grade can hang on, and how short the gap between C and D grade is when A grade make the catch. If A grade make the catch, that is. I shouldn't sell out C grade so quickly, but just with the sheer numbers after catching B grade, you would assume that they have the weight in numbers and therefore have a good chance to get up. It's Jay Vine on the front for the A grade category at the moment. He's driving it, but in the C grade, Crystal Simpson, she still continues the messages flowing for the group. All the groups have really shrunk, and it shows you just how tough tonight's race has been. But see, everyone that's left in the event at the moment has an opportunity to take this one out. D grade with a minute's lead over C grade. That was a really good lead with 1 lap to go. And now the messages come through from Crystal. 1 minute back to B. Keep at it. Yeah, well, A grade's very close to 2. That's a scary thought if you're in C grade, but they just got to power on. Now they start to eat into the terrain that's left, and it makes it more and more difficult for the back markers to catch up. So going to go all the way down the line. Final couple of 100 meters, I reckon, Nathan.
Yeah, I think so too. We are on to the last lap. We are being told here. It looks like D grade might be able to pull this off here. I'm trying to look for the feed here for that D category for the winner out there. I think Morley still leading things out. Stargate here now heading into the final here, I believe. And it looks like Van Dyke as well. So I think D grade are going to pull this off here. Morley here just being caught. I'm going to go ahead and bring this feed in here. I'm going to make sure we are in the final. And it looks like Morley now, 3.6 watts per kilogram on the front. Not sure he's going to be stay in this race here. Bob Morley has been pulled from the results actually at 3.0 watts per kilogram, so he's a little bit over the category limits here at this point. Schreiber now making his way to the front here. They're coming out of Switzerland, 5.1 watts per kilogram here, coming from this rider now, looking to break away, and it looks like Schreiber here now out of Switzerland with E55 old 77 kilograms. That's quite the name there for coming on through. We'll see if he can hold on to try and grab onto that wheel there. Cahill now from AHDR. Ladies here trying to close things down. We'll see if they can make it happen. If Schreiber went a little bit too early. Now here come the rest of those D category riders though, as it is going to be Karek now. Sammy. Looks like maybe for what it looks like 2 laps to go for this rider. Excuse me here. So, and then here on to the, it looks like win for the D cat. No, excuse me. I'm sorry about that. Is that W for him? As it says 0 there, and it is across the line. Apologies on that there, you guys. Sometimes I get a little bit confused as to whether or not it's showing me 1 lap to go or 0. is the actual as they come on through. But the A category unable to make the close there. That is going to be the win for the Ds there across the line coming out of Switzerland. So now with the A category looking for their final kick to the line. It's going to be a left-hand turn, and they're looking to chase down these Cs still at this point. The C category looks like, though, are going to just barely be able to hang on for the win against the A's now at this point, as the A category looks to absolutely hammer away and try and close this down. Trying to get onto the right rider here that's leading things out. It looks like it is going to be Woodman here, but it's going to be Chris Pitcher now here. 8.7 watts per kilogram, looking to close it down to Woodman. But Woodman here with 7 watts per kilogram and a solid 10-second gap. Went very early here, it looks like. It looks like it's going to be Woodman amongst those C category riders that is going to be able to take this down. We'll go back for the Peloton for the main group sprint. It is going to be Chris Pitcher here, able to walk away with this one. Then we'll move our way back here to the A categories. It is going to be Hinckley, it looks like, to the line, I believe. No, Hinckley's down 1 lap. So where's the rest of the A category? Jay Vine here now just coming on. And we were right as far as it coming down into the last few hundred meters. But it looks about a half a K or so to that C category. And maybe even a K and a half there up to the Ds that were able to pull off the win here this week. Gibson, we did see him in the chat there. We'll see if he can also do the talking with his legs, but it's going to be Kim Little here going to the line. Lots of arrow power-ups. They were all reserving them. They didn't care to use them to chase anybody down here. Gibson now all the way to the line. It will be Gibson. Does do the talking with his legs. He comes across the line in first place amongst those A's. And again, D category pulls it off again here, Pat. What a race.
Yeah, well, I think that they were helped a bit by A grade and B grade, particularly coming from behind, dragging them along a little bit. Certainly took advantage of that. But also, I just think that all the grades really rode a little bit better tonight than what was expected. C grade certainly put in a great effort too, because they weren't caught. They'd only got caught right in those final 6 or 7 kilometres. So it's been a big effort by all the groups. A grade doesn't get up tonight, but certainly D grade. They deserved it. They worked hard all the way, and they worked as a good group. And they also had their best numbers that they've had for the entire series.
Yeah, amazing job all around. I'm just glad to be able to catch all of the categories coming in for their finish here out here today. Solid results for them, as we did just see the B category smash it and take that finish there out well. Jeffrey Creel, thanks a lot. A little bit of thumbs up there for vision coming from Jeffrey Creel. Good to see him hanging out in the broadcast. Again, guys, we'll kind of try and keep the social media integration coming in week in after week in and week out here. James Joseph Barnes, good to see you in there. We're seeing Wendy May Abbott cheering on Wardy out there as well. Good to see Pete Donahue jumping in there saying go to the D category, as they were able to take down the race this week as well. So Pete, good to see you jumping into the race here, as well as Wendy. Wendy, we'll be keeping eyes out there. Thank you to Nathan and Pat. And Wendy, make sure you send all those messages on over to Pat to get him on that bike. I'm not sure if the pedals are moving at all just yet. But let's go ahead and see if we can take the results in here, as it looks like HDR results for today. Harvey BB here, looks like, followed up by Toby Karrison, and it's going to be Linda Van Dyke there. Actually, for the ladies there, Wendy Chow, and the third place there for Linda Van Dyke. Good to see the ladies jumping into the top 5 there. Solid result for them. And that's the cool thing about the Chop, is that, you know, all the categories can win, and the reality of it here too is that we've got the ladies and the men mixing it up for those top spots.
Yeah, and that's what makes a Chop Series so exciting, because, if you turn up, you got a chance to win. Doesn't matter which group you're in. If you're in the group that is required for the power output of your FTP, you're going to have a chance. And it probably makes it more fair than even the outdoor real-life handicap racing, because let's be honest, in the handicap racing outdoors, you've always got that sneaky sit-on merchant, we used to call them in racing days, and that's the rider that just sits in the back, oh, I'm tired, and they never come through and help. But if they do that on Zwift, they usually get dropped or left behind. So well done to Linda, and well done to Wendy, 3rd and 4th tonight, and well done to D grade for taking out. They're equal now, 3 wins out of 6 races. A grade 3 wins out of 6 races. Can the organisers do to get a C grade victory, or even better, a B grade victory? I send the challenge out.
Yeah, so it does look like, I hope that we got this correct here. Maybe this is from DQs and no DQs. Looking through here, just make sure that this is the updated results there. But looking at it right now, Toby Karrison, I think Linda Van Dyke, as well as Wendy Chow, Cameron Doe, Shia, Jax, Robin Stein, Stu Brain, Jerome Smith, Jimmy T, and then Kelly Murphy. So we'll get an update here from our production side of the results, as I believe some of them were racing out there too. But I appreciate everybody jumping in here. And Kim Little with a mention. Appreciate Kim Little. Nice job out there racing as he was trying to get us to get the live results out there. But nice job on bringing all of the info in. Look, Kim does help out in the background and does the race, everybody, just so you guys know. So shout out to him on all the hard work he puts together for some of the graphics here too. So Pat, all right, predictions on tour. We got to get into our predictions on tour. So big day today in the Tour de France. What are you thinking?
What I'm thinking, first and foremost, let's look at the races within the race. The team's classification, Movistar, they always target it. They messed it up yesterday, and Trek Segafredo an 8-minute lead in that classification. So look to see some Movistar riders in the break tonight, maybe Marc Soler, and that should be an interesting aspect in itself, because it also allows them to maybe launch a Mikel Landa to attack from afar for the GC. But I think we're both in agreement. We like Stefan Kruijswijk to take out this year's Tour de France. And I was saying to you before we got on air tonight, a lot of people forget he almost won the Tour of Italy. He should have won the Tour of Italy, in fact, if he hadn't have crashed out. So those that don't remember, go back. I think it was 2015 or 14. And he certainly should have taken out that Tour. And it was a disappointing finish for him there. But he has Grand Tour pedigree. And as you and I both alluded to, he doesn't look like he's been too stressed all tour.
Yeah, and we are seeing a lot of predictions actually coming in here from chatter here. And we're seeing, a prediction for 7 laps next week coming from Kim Little. But we are also seeing, it looks like Go Richie here coming from Wendy Mae Abbott. So Pinot to win the Tour, though, we're seeing. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. I have to agree with you, though. Beforehand, we had a chatter about it a little bit. And, I do think that Stefan Kruijswijk, I like he's been an unsung hero for a while. We've seen him time and again going for wins, Grand Tour, being right there in that top 5, top 3 a lot of times. Top 5, now top 3 situation. We've seen him top 10s, Grand Tour situations, just never able to hit that podium and get the win. I think that Kruijswijk is definitely, in my opinion, for the W out there. I was surprised, actually, though. I heard a lot of Garrett. There was a lot of Gary going around. So we'll see if the Ineos, though, can pull it off. But, all right, that's going to be it, though, for us for AHDR The Chop. We'll be back next week for more of this racing. If you're just tuning in, or if you haven't done this racing before, Zwift.com/events. You go check it out. Do a little search for that. For AHDR The Chop. We'll be here live next week as well. Jump into your category, and you might have a chance to win a Zwift race out here during a live broadcast. And if you haven't done so already, hit that follow button over on Twitch, Mixer, YouTube, or Facebook, wherever you're watching, and turn on those notifications so that you know whenever we do go live. As always, thanks a lot to all the viewers. Great job to all the riders out there, and ride on.